quick. I'm gonna do a full Naseehah on this in the first day, which I'll send to you. But I'll just give you a quick overview of um, uh, our technology policy, um, and maybe also just to give you some background. Is that um, here's the PDF version of this policy. Yeah, let's open the Word version. Fine. So, so in terms of a a a technology policy, I'm not going to speak about the background. I think you understand the background and all of those things. Just like I'm basically uh, exposing your child to inappropriate content is basically like spiritual poison. It's actually like actual spiritual psychological damage to children. And fundamentally, in summary, I don't believe it is responsible for a parent to give a child a device if they are 15 or under. If it's unmonitored or there's no control software on. 16, I'm not sure about, but I say 15 and under, I don't think a child should have a device in their room in a private space that is not monitored. I think it's far too dangerous. And I have firsthand heard about accounts at the, because I'm obviously involved now with learners in school, about what happens when kids come together of 8, 9, 10 years old, someone has a device. Inevitably, someone wants to show someone something. Inevitably people are going to become curious. It is going to happen. It is happening. It's happening in good homes, and it creates a lot of damage. So I think, like, fundamentally, I think by now I think we're all on the same page. The second thing is that yes, technology has a positive aspect. So we're all for Khan's Academy and learning online and coding and robotics and graphic design and PowerPoint and Word. Those are not the issue with that. The child can do. That's fine. They can do that for 2 hours, 3 hours. It's fine. It's not an issue. The real issue is to do with entertainment, lahu and nahu, what the Quran speaks about, entertainment and idle speech. Entertainment is movies, series, social media, Instagram, TikTok, um, and gaming, especially the boys, some also girls as well, gaming, online gaming. What's when your child is sitting with this? I don't know if you have children who have games, but they're sitting with their headphones and their microphone here. Who are they talking to? Are they talking to their friends? Is anybody allowed to join the conversation? What type of conversation are they having? These are all serious questions that we need to ask ourselves. So basically, in summary, what we've done is we have taken I wouldn't say a strict position. We've taken a very managed position. So I'll go through quickly, and you can tell me your thoughts afterwards. I won't spend too long on it. But number one is, as a school, and I'm saying it as a school now because that's the context. But I also mean it as a Naseehah as well. But as a school, we have said that if you are 12 or under, you may not own a device that is identified as yours. In other words, if you have a device in the family that the kids can use, or it's used for their stuff or for their research, it must not be identified as theirs. It must be called a family device. The reason why is because it cannot become normal for 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13-year-olds to be walking around with these extremely harmful devices. And if everybody walks around with it, it creates a social pressure. But mommy, my cousin has one, and my friend has one, and everybody else has one. So we as a school are trying to remove all of that social pressure, and no one has one. So that's the first thing. The second thing, up to the age of 15, no learner is able to use a device that has no parental control software or is not located in a public area with direct monitoring. It's simply just irresponsible to do so and unacceptable to do so. And that will be the position going forward because of the harms that I don't think some of you all know the harms, but maybe some of you have some idea of it, and so on. I think a simple thing in houses, when you have kids, is that if you have an adult device, you have your device. Your device must have biometric controls on it. It must have password access, fingerprint, face, or password access. So kids can't take your device when you're not looking, or when you're having a nap, or when you forget your phone at home. They can't take it and use it basically. Um, all devices must be in a, but on all devices, we recommend that when kids have homework and research, you get a nice big screen and you put it in a public area where there is direct monitoring. And if there is going to be usage in the learners, like in a study or in a separate TV room, it must have controls on. The learner must never ever have an open device in their room or in their private space. If they have a device that goes to the room, it must have Google Family Link or Kaspersky Kids or Custodio or some sort of parental management where you can monitor what they're doing. You can block off harmful sites. You can limit what they are doing on their phones, tablets, and so on. And then appropriate content. We as a school believe that if you are 15 or under, you are not allowed to use social media. You can't use Facebook, no Instagram, no TikTok, no Snapchat. Why? Because these are essentially fundamentally unfiltered spaces. When a 12-year-old goes onto Instagram, it's an unfiltered space. When a 7-year-old, 8-year-old, 9-year-old goes on TikTok, it's an unfiltered space. There's lots of suggestions coming up. There are news feeds coming up. It is not actually meant for children. Actually, it's illegal for them to be on there if they're under 13. So it's not actually a safe space. And the technology companies themselves have researched and found there's a big study now from Instagram about how much depression and suicide attempts Instagram is causing because of the kind of messaging. So we have a simple position is that you're under 15, you're not allowed on social media, you're not allowed to browse it, you're not allowed to have an account on it. If you want to message people, you can use WhatsApp, and that's going to be it. YouTube must be monitored. YouTube Kids is preferable, but if you're using normal YouTube, it must be monitored. Then in terms of content, and again, I'm sharing this because I do want parents to be more vigilant. And it's tough to be the bad guy, but it's needed sometimes. You're not going to give your child like I know it's like effectively almost like giving yourself like a child a cup, and you put some poison tablets in there and you put some vitamins in there, and you explain to the child, just don't eat the other ones. Then you tell the child, go to your room and go eat the good vitamins, and also tell your brother also to have some as well. You don't want to do that if you're going to potentially kill your child in terms of that. You're going to be very, very vigilant because it's like physics. You're going to harm your child. So you're going to separate the bad from the good. But when it comes to technology, it's just like it's fine. You guys could do whatever you want to do, and it's just too loose. Then in terms of content, learners are not allowed to watch inappropriate movies, age inappropriate movies, series, and games. That's your first level of checking, is it age appropriate? The second thing is beyond age appropriate, is it content appropriate? Or does it have inappropriate sexuality? It has too much violence, it has materialism, it has anything that goes against the principles of Islam. That all needs to be checked and vetted before a learner a child can start viewing all of these things. And devices should be checked regularly. In terms of screen limits, I think this is one of the most difficult things, is that our general advice is that a child should have no screen time in the week. No screen time in the week. Why? And this is important. I'm not talking about educational screen time. Remember, I'm talking about entertainment. Educational stuff, if they have homework projects, research, that's all fine. I'm talking about entertainment, gaming, movies, series. Why do I say no screen time? I say the recommendation is no screen time because it creates a constant battle when you allow it. When you're allowed for an hour, it's like, when's my hour? And when the hour comes, another half an hour, I'm just finishing this game, I'm just watching the series, I'm just another few minutes, and becomes a constant battle, and that battle wears you down. So there's a simple way to win the battle is say the battle is over, you can watch on Saturday. And that's no discussion. So that's our recommendation. But we tell parents that if you can't manage no screen time, a maximum is 1 hour a day of entertainment. I don't believe that learners should be watching more than 1 hour of movie series, gaming per day in the week. I think they should be occupied with something else. Devices should be in by 7 o'clock. No devices should be in the rooms with them. And then weekend screen time, our advice is 2 hours. 2 hours enough for the weekend, but at the maximum, which I think is too much even, a maximum is 5 hours for the weekend. So at the maximum level, if you give an hour a day, Monday to Friday, and you're giving 5 hours on the weekend, I think 10 hours a week is like more than enough screen time for entertainment reasons. I think it's actually too much. But I think if you find it difficult to reduce your own child to 10 hours, I think there's a serious problem. If your child is on 20, 20 hours, 30 hours a week, I think there's a serious problem, and technology addiction is real. Um, and then I think the last few things here is that search engines should be you should disable the search engines and only allow child-friendly search engines, or at least put on the family control on the search engine. So you also stop access on a device level from parents, from children, not like we had, wallahi, we had 8, 9 year olds accessing pornography by accident, by typing in something which they didn't really know what's going to happen, and then it just popped up like that by accident. So it's very, very unsafe to have an open search engine. And besides, by accident, learners are going to be curious friends, curious teens, and most of our negative exposure, especially on when friends get together. Because when friends get together, inevitably someone's going to want to push the boundary, want to expose the others, want to be the one to show someone else something else. So especially with cousins, friends, you have to be extra vigilant, um, and so on. There's a nice app also called Kids Place. I have it on my phone as well. It's called Kids Place. If you ever hand your learner your own device, then you open this app called Kids Place, and that app Kids Place creates like almost like a place. They can't get out of it. So in Kids Place, you can then put like 5 apps. You can say, okay, these 5 apps are allowed. So when you open Kids Place, they can only access those 5 apps. They can't get out of it unless they have the password. And obviously, they can't restart the phone because you must have controls on restarting the phone. So they're almost like locked in. So it also protects your children and your own privacy as well. And then finally, I think contracts are important between parents and learners in terms of a contract is, does my child understand what the limits and controls of this device are? For example, does my child know that they mustn't provide personal information about their name, surname, address, location, parents when they are chatting to a stranger? Do they know they mustn't chat to strangers? Do they know if they get uncomfortable that they can come to their parents? Do they know what the limits of browsing are? All of these. They know what the time limits are, and so on. So all of these things. I mean, I went through very briefly now. Even on your Xbox and on your PlayStation, there are parental controls. Can your learner, when they're playing online game, can they add a strange friend, whoever that friend is? Are you going to allow them to sit with earphones? Or do you know what other people, the other adults that your child is playing with, what are they saying? Or the other kids that your child is playing with, what type of language discussion is taking place? In terms of harms, I'm not going to go through it now, but I think violence, aggression, sexual activity, promiscuity, self-esteem, big issue as well. Cyberbullying, big issue as well, and technology addiction. It is an actual medical addiction. So I thought when I finalize this document, I will send it to you. But I think beyond sending the document to you, I feel as parents, you need to take this seriously. Like it's just at an uncontrolled level. It is uncontrolled, and it is causing serious harm. And I think that it's a huge issue. It's like for me, I don't think we understand how serious this is. Yaqeen, Bismillah.
We share the same sentiment about this topic. We discussed it a few times. Yeah, so sometimes it becomes like if the adult actions that way, then the child will see it. So sometimes it's difficult to, shout out the rules, and then you have your face buried in the screen all the time yourself. So that's something difficult to do as well, because there's nobody really policing you, but you policing your child, and your child's like,
Very
oh,
true.
you have your face in the phone all the time. So
Yes. Or even many of the dads are playing games like for hours a day. The entire child don't play
yeah.
games. So it's no,
I don't have
I
that one.
definitely. You see, for me, definitely, you have to make a choice as a parent. In the end, you are shaping a child, and whatever you do, the child is being influenced by it. And sometimes, if you have a bad habit, it's better to shield your child from your own bad habits.
Yeah.
if you want to play games, lock the room and play games there, and don't child see you play games all day. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, you don't have to, but I'm saying it's you have to put the child first. And you know, the approach we're taking at school now is we're taking a very strict approach. We are saying that you either comply to this policy or you leave the school. There's no negotiation about it. We will support you if you're struggling. We will help you with the controls. We will support you on your journey, but you must be committed to this process. Otherwise, you have to leave the school. What we realize is that we can't do this unless everybody does it. Otherwise, if this one, it's like a virus. You know, if one person has it, it's going to spread to everybody else. So we've taken quite a. I think it's a reasonable step, but other people might think it's a very drastic step. But I think it's the responsible position to take.
Yes.
And,
Yeah.
and I feel we as a community and you as parents and even you are on governing bodies, I think there needs to be more vigilance. There was going to be a law passed in this country, and I must find just Google it, inshallah. There was going to be a law passed in this country that it would be illegal for you to hand a device to a child because it contradicts child safety. The amount of exposure, the amount of danger that lurks in this device, it was going to be illegal. I don't know why it didn't go through. It was going to be illegal to hand the child a device. So why do we have primary schools with the children walking around with phones? Like it's like on which planet is that acceptable? So I think it's insanity. Like if you think about it, it is a form of insanity. Does that?
Assalamu alaikum, Maulana. No, shukran for that.
No,
I don't have very old children yet, but it's good to be forewarned with this. But I think that it's very yeah, I think it might maybe Maulana's maybe ahead of the curve on, and GoodTree's ahead of the curve on this, because I mean, if more literature becomes available, and I mean, if it's sort of going to be such a serious such serious harms that eventually it might have to be shaping like public policy and governmental policy. So I mean, we might see this in a few years, which by then it might be a bit late, if the primary school kids already have been damaged, or the high school kids. But I mean, I think it's a useful policy to have, and a very, very very forward thinking and insightful, especially the part about basic safety and security of children, not giving details. I mean, I think that's not even spoken enough about in our families, and it's such a security risk these days. And that's just a basic sort of primary security concern. But shukran.
Yes, and I don't think it's something which is like revolutionary in the UK now. I don't think it was passed. They're proposing a bill that says by default a device should not be able to access pornography, and that if you want access to pornography, you must opt in with your ISP. Which for me is like a very reasonable, a very logical, and a very safe approach for community development and for child safety. And this is the UK. It's not like Saudi Arabia or some Islamic country. This is the UK. This is Africa was on the ban the device. I feel that yes, your children need to make responsible decisions, but you make responsible decisions within a reasonable framework. Like for example, if you have a 2-year-old, you're not going to leave your 2-year-old by the side of the pool and then go to the shop quickly and say, okay, my 2-year-old must decide that they mustn't get in the pool and drown, because they're not able to make that decision, right? So if your 10, 11, 12-year-old has a device, they're not at the age to make responsible decisions. Not even adults are making responsible decisions. How's your 12, 13, 14-year-old not going to chat to someone, not going to send photos of themselves, not going to view that which you mustn't view? It's not a space that is healthy for them to graze in. It's not a space not a healthy space for them. And I think that this is, I mean, I don't think we speak about this enough, to be honest. I think we've just like lost control and said, okay, inshallah, it'll work out. No.
Sorry, just one last thought. I mean, I think also it's sort of in the last 10 years or so, maybe 15 years, it sort of almost was an overwhelmingly a sweeping kind of wave of technological advancements, which was maybe the parents or, you know, the sort of policies in place or just the monitoring couldn't keep up with the advancements. If you look at like
Yes, yes.
TikTok and Instagram, and yeah, so I think it's a sort of like it's almost like people you know, the rug was more swept under a lot of the parents, and now kids are way more advanced than we can ever, you know, have imagined. But I mean, like one was right, even if we as adults can't control our scrolling and just scrolling and spending time on the device, we can't expect the children to be any better.
Yeah, and all I'm saying also is that we're not saying that the children mustn't have access to technology. We're saying that it must be controlled, it must be managed, and it must be healthy, suitable exposure. They can still watch a movie, they can still watch a series, they can still play a game. We're not saying any of those things. We're just saying it has to be managed, because it's like a simple, like common sense fact that we've kind of just let go of completely because it's too much work or too much effort, or when to make your kids happy, or you're tired of fighting the battle. But it's not right. You have to wake up and fight that battle. Brother Jakes, Bismillah.
Assalamualaikum, Maulana. No, no, you're correct. I think a couple of about 10, 12 years ago, I had an epiphany where, in fact, I was listening to somebody on the radio, and he was a prisoner. He was a criminal. He became a public speaker. He was motivating. He was a motivational speaker. He became a motivational speaker after he came out of prison. And his words were essentially that, you know, he was sitting in prison one day, I think, and he was watching the television, and he realized that the people on television were fulfilling their dreams while he was watching them fulfill their dreams. Right? And that made me think about it, because I used to watch a lot of soccer on a Saturday and a Sunday. My kids would be playing outside, and I realized, you know what? My kids are outside, I'm watching soccer here. So I canceled DSTV, I cut all television. We had no television in the house for a couple of years, which was very unpopular at the time. But within a month, 2 months, my kids started reading more. We spent a lot more time outdoors. We did a lot of things. My kids were small then. Nowadays, we don't spend that much time, but television is now a weekend thing, really, only, you know?
Yes.
Working, doing schoolwork, all of those kind of things. So that was the benefit. It was, I suppose, lucky for me that I saw this. And we do the same thing with technology, where, you know, it's a public thing. So I buy into your technology policy because I think it does work. Children generally don't have they don't have the filters to be able to filter out the amount of information that they're getting. Whether it's a moral filter, ethical filter, religious filter, legislation, they don't know the legislation of what's right and what's wrong. So they don't have those filters. And well, frankly, I don't think many adults also know those, have that at this point, because we've been so, we get the messages all the time from television, the media, all of those things of what is acceptable. So it becomes very difficult. And if we don't shut ourselves out from it, if we don't remove television, if we don't remove the bad, the negative messages that come from even just reading newspapers. I mean, if you pick up a newspaper, 90% of the media is about bad news. The collective impact on your psyche just kind of makes you a negative person all the time. In fact, I don't buy the newspapers anymore either for that reason. I'll look for media that I want to find, you know, for stories.
Yes.
Everything is just so negative, you know. So those are we need to cut out certain things. You're right. I agree with you.
And also, I mean, obviously, like television is relevant for our age. The kids obviously they don't really watch TV anymore. It's all on demand and stuff. But I think the social media aspect, especially like Instagram, it is so incredibly superficial and materialistic and external that it is going to, I'm just talking about what it's doing to your child's mind in terms of their ambitions, in terms of their heart, in terms of what they deem important. It's such incredible damage, and it's just, I mean, it's recognized by those companies themselves.
Yeah.
They are publishing their own research reports. So their
Yes.
solution is we're going to create a kids Instagram now for under
The-
13s, which I don't know if that is the right solution. But but if the company themselves are telling you this, and it's almost like a smoking. Like, you know,
Yes.
smoking causes cancer. Here's a cigarette. Instagram causes depression and suicide. But Bismillah, you know what I mean? Like, it's a form of insanity.
There's a show
Khalil.
on Netflix. Marv, there's a show on Netflix, ironically on Netflix. It's called The Social Dilemma. I would
Yeah, I saw part of it. Yeah.
No, watch the whole one because it actually, yeah, the stuff that they put out in there is, it attacks your brain, it attacks your mind, and it actually shows you what they do. So they're tapping into your brain and what you think and how you think, and they're feeding you. And it can feed you enough,
Yes.
which is a bad thing. Yeah.
We are the customer.
Yep.
This is Nuran, Bismillah.
I
The
wanted to
user?
say, I wanted to mention something. Molana mentioned about like not doing TV during the week, and I know when my kids were small, we had that policy in the house, and it was more because we just had so much to do, and in order to get through what we needed to do by a decent time, you know, when mother and father's working, it just made sense to cut out TV in the week. And actually, when the kids went to sleep, my husband and I very comfortably went to go sit in front of the TV, but that was now, okay, whatever we needed to do for the day is now finally done.
Yes.
And I mean, my daughter's 18, so it was a while ago, but even amongst our friends at that time, it was unheard of. And I always thought, like, you know, if you have these challenges with your children, like you can't get your child to come eat, because we still do supper as a family. It's like a compulsory thing. We must all sit around the table and we'll share what happened during the day or whatever. And just to get them to participate in what we thought was normal things. Or you need to leave you need to get away from the TV because you need to do your homework now. I couldn't see like the logic of like having to go through that. Look, time has
There's
moved
too many
on.
battles.
We have lost the battle. I'm going to admit we lost the battle. But I think you don't realize the benefit of everything until you've done it and you can now compare.
Yes.
Although we know that there's nothing about social media that's great. I mean, even if you are following hijabi influencers or whatever, there is nothing about social media that is going to be beneficial to you. But yeah, I think when you're in it, it's hard to undo. And kids have that. I don't know what it is. Like teenagers are just like different. They're going to push you until you really can't anymore. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely a good thing. And it's a good reminder also.
Yes. But I don't want us to like be in a situation where we like lament how bad this is. My real message is people must take action. And I'm trying to like decide in my own mind, maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong, like when is the point where your child is allowed now to have complete freedom and accounts and unlimited phone? And like in my mind, I cannot see that happening before 16. Like I just like it in my gut, it just feels completely wrong. Even 16 might be young, but I'm saying before 16, like I think we all agree, like 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds, they should not be in that space of just unlimited access, unlimited exposure. Obviously, at some stage, they're going to get there. When they're 17, 18, they're going to get there, and that's fine. Then they become an adult, they become responsible for themselves. But before they get there, you have to kind of manage exposure, and it's a gradual process of letting go of boundaries. And I think that's the important thing, is that there's boundaries in place and there's management, and one day they'll be free to make their own choices. We can't avoid that. I don't know what you think the right age is, where your child can now say, I have a phone, there's no controls, I will open whatever social media account I want to, I will chat to whoever I want to, I will send photos to whoever I want to. When is that age? I don't know. I feel it cannot be before 16.
I don't think there's a set age for everyone. I think children also differ. I see it with my own kids. Just like the level of maturity, like it's different.
But do you think before 16, even a mature child?
No, not before
I'm saying
16.
yeah. No, I'm saying for me, I don't even think 16 is the right thing. I'm saying I think that definitely doesn't happen before 16. Doesn't matter how mature or good your child is. It's not a safe space. You know what I mean? It's fundamentally not a safe space.
Probably, I
So,
think Yakin may be right. These crazy things that's happening on high schools also.
yes.
Some of the people who work for companies like Instagram admitted that none of the children are allowed accounts or phones. Like I think from the
Yes,
start.
like Bill Gates himself.
Yep, he
Even
didn't allow his kids to have.
Steve Jobs didn't
Yes,
have an iPad for his kids.
yes. So
They
it
weren't
makes
allowed
you
to use
worry.
iPad.
Makes you worry. These are people creating the stuff, but they don't allow themselves to use it. So it's quite sinister, actually.
Inshallah. Brother Jakes,
Yeah, Maulana, I think you're correct. I think you're correct. You can't demonize the actual technology, because I think the technology is useful in its own way, and can be useful to our children later on, right? I think it's more about, and I think the sister who spoke earlier was correct, that it's about where each child is in the development. And if we don't give them access to technology, and we don't give them access and teach them how to use it properly, whenever they're going to get their hands on it, when they become old enough to do their own thing and to be in their own space and to take control of their own time, they're going to be left at the mercy of whatever's available in terms of information on that device. So it's about being able to allow the child to engage with these things in a way which is going to build them up and build the ability to use the device appropriately, rather than kind of saying that the device itself or the technology itself is not appropriate. You know.
Yes. And therefore, I think for many kids, the act of using a device is enjoyable. The act of a keyboard, a mouse, it's an enjoyable experience to engage with technology. And I think one of the simplest solutions is just to identify the healthy spaces where they can learn something, where it's constructive. I think you get like this Minecraft where they build stuff and like
Yes.
a building developing. But I'm saying so at least then you give them that you like I don't think you must ban them and let's close off and say no phone, no nothing. I think as you mentioned, you must give them the right spaces. But it takes work. And that's the problem, is that the parents are not prepared to do the work. It takes work to filter, to block, to monitor. It takes work because it takes effort. And a parent generally is very tired and like, I can't anymore. Just take my phone and go to your room and watch it. Go watch what you want to watch.
Yeah.
And I think that's actually the issue, is that as children weigh you down, that's how they find all the gaps. And some children are very good at finding every gap there is.
All children. All children.
Some more than others. I can see in my own kids. Some more than others. Some are extremely nifty.
Yeah.
Others, yeah.
I suppose we won't have the solutions to all of these things right away, but I mean, I think maybe just giving the children alternatives, healthy alternatives. I mean, like Mullah said, I learned a lot by playing around on my old 486, the Pentium 1. But back then, fortunately, we just had Paint and MS Word to play around with. You didn't really have all those other kinds of internet connected apps. But I mean, these days there's a lot of things I see overseas is where they provide like sort of toolkits or building sets for children to sort of learn these science, technology, art and math kind of things, and it's sort of related to technology, but it gives the children like an alternative space where they can learn healthy and productive things. So I mean, I suppose as those things maybe become more available in our community, or no, we can sort of lead the way on that. But I think maybe just healthy alternatives is maybe a way to go.
I think another answer maybe is to use technology to manage the technology, which I think maybe is actually possibly a good answer. Is that if you set up a child's device in the right way, you can control the access time and you can control the access content, and basically reduces your time. So in other words, if the device, so you have your child's tablet, whatever they're playing, and it's set up in the right way, it will basically be a safe space. But that setting up obviously means you must buy parental control software and whatever the case is and set it up properly. And then it itself becomes a safe space. And then also you can even just set the time limits on there. So you don't also have to manage the time limits as well. And then also you can also monitor everything on there from your own device. So that is also then also then covered as well. So maybe the part of the answer is using technology to manage technology. So I think that's actually where we kind of headed, and where we basically create child safe devices, and we create it in such a way that it becomes without a loophole. And obviously it's possible. No, it's never impossible. It's very possible to make a device without a loophole. It's not actually that difficult. It's just the effort in getting there. And I think maybe inshallah, I think that's where things need to move, because almost like it's easier just to give someone like a package thing and say this device is child safe, and set it up and so on. So I think one of the things we will try to do at GoodTree is we'll try to explore that route. So we can tell parents, bring in your device, we'll make a child safe for you. Here are the parameters, and you give the device back to the child, and it's basically controlled from that aspect. As long as the child doesn't know your password, then it should be fine, inshallah. Do any of you have device control software on your child's device? Is even one person who has it?
I've got the Samsung devices. I have that Samsung Kids, which is you just like in Malaysia, it's like Kids Zone or Kids Place. So you add the apps there to that, and then there's only YouTube Kids, which you can add the content manually, that like the channels and the videos that you want. But I mean, that's the extent. I mean, my daughter's 3.5, so I suppose as she grows older, then we will have to do more, more advanced and elaborate things.
Yes. Okay, good. So Aida says she uses JamF. Let me check it out. Brother Jace, bismillah.
No. I didn't know about the technology that was there to be able to control my children's phones. But when I did, it was already too late, and I didn't want to apply something after having given. I didn't want to limit freedom after having given it. So what I just maintained then was oversight, regular oversight. So mother and I must know her passwords. In other words, she must have no passwords. Or we must know that we must be able to use a phone, and we can, even now at this age, 16 years old, we still do take the phone, and so that they know that there is always going to be some kind of oversight. So we haven't applied any technology to it, but we have kept up the oversight over the phone.
Yeah, the only problem that the oversight is that like with apps like Snapchat, the messages all disappear. So it's you can't apply any oversight there. And the kids know how to clear browsing history and browsing incognito mode. Even they're 16, they already worked on all of those things. So I think while oversight is good, I think it's good also to be aware of its limitations as well.
Yes. Look, and my daughter is not allowed on. She's not allowed on the what do you call the social media is not allowed except for WhatsApp and TikTok. But then almost on every second day there's oversight over it. So it's
yes.
Not all of them are not allowed. Just one or two.
Yes. Alhamdulillah. Okay, so I think to check the Jam, if nothing, JamF is for Apple products. Looks like it. So Saida, is it for Apple products? I think so, yes. Okay. So I think we'll end there, inshallah. I don't have any last comments, but I think just like I just want to give a wake up call to everybody. Just give your kids, just make sure you are doing something to manage and monitor and control the exposure, because you are responsible for shaping their heart, their mind, their body, their thoughts, their everything is your responsibility. And you only have really like such a short amount of time. When your child is 16, 17, they are basically out of your control. They have their own independent will. They're going to soon leave your house. They are out of your control, really. You can give them advice. They may or may not listen at that age, but you only have a short few years, and make those a good few years to shape your child, because you are preparing them for the rest of their life. And it takes hard work. I know it's hard work. I think parenting is the hardest job in the world. Um, so, but I mean, we have to do what it takes. And if you're starting to keep up with technology and starting to keep up with the trends, and you can't just keep up, get someone to help you, because um, you have to take back control. So may Allah bless all of you. May Allah protect our children and grant them healthy spaces to exist and survive in, inshallah ta'ala. And I think it's we need to get the discussion not on what the problems are, but what the solutions are. And then we need to start deploying the solutions within the community, so we can create that healthy space. And if you are on a parent body, if you're at a school, I would suggest that you raise this with the school. Because if your child is at the school, you don't want to have your child exposed to these things on a daily basis. And just like, you wouldn't want it as a parent, because you're something like, you do all the hard work at home, and then all that hard work is undone when they go to school. So then have these same discussions with the principal, with the governing body, about do we allow just kind of free for all amongst kids who are in the early teens? Is it appropriate? Is it not appropriate? Can we take some measures to create better control and better just better? I mean, I don't actually understand why someone under 15 needs a phone at school. They can phone the office to contact their parents. But anyway, I'm just saying, like, be proactive about it, because it's gonna require this kind of groundswell stand against it for the sake of the children, for any change to happen. So I think, and that change and that groundswell must come from you, and not only from Muslims, also from all parents of any faith, of no faith, have these same concerns. So I think we don't just accept this and just say it is what it is and life has changed and just deal with it. No, we take control of our situations. So so be part of that, in the name of child safety, in the name of positive development for our children. May Allah bless and protect, and we'll see you not next week, it's holiday. The week afterwards, we'll see you back in mosque. For those of you able to make it, we'll see you inshallah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum salam.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.